Are you searching for information on opening a medical spa business and making it profitable within your first year? Are you thinking about buying an existing medical spa or selling one? In this video series, we showed our social media audience how to succeed in their business journey and sound, timeless strategies we've been using for over 20 years. We've used all these strategies to grow aesthetic medical practices to seven-figure sales and beyond. We've decided to post this valuable information on YouTube because these timeless strategies might be just the thing you need to grow your business and succeed in the coming months and years. Kelly Smith here, Projected Growth Consulting. Every Tuesday, I am here to share some advice for med spa owners and physicians, plastic surgeons, dermatologists, functional medicine practices, any cash pay, elective medicine, chiropractic, even some dental. We help all those sorts of clients. Hi there. Today I am excited to share with you how we help our executive coaching clients manage their staff and create systems of accountability, because I think one of the things I notice when I work with my one-on-one clients, which if you haven't heard about our executive coaching program, you do 4 sessions with me. It's a $1,500 package, but we do typically go through your finances really quick, do your benchmarking of your expenses, set up your goals for the next year, look at your compensation and whether your productivity multiples are up where they need to be for your staff. Many times we'll look at capacity and maybe where there's opportunities in your business or where you could do better. So one of the things that often comes up as I go through that process of looking at the numbers, looking at the productivity, the multiple of what a staff member or a team member is creating, we get into the same conversation of how do I hold my staff accountable? Because if I set up bonuses to pay them for good behavior, great, but what if they don't get there? There's no way to take money away from them. So you've got the carrots, right? You've got the carrots of commission, mostly commission, whether it's retail or other contests that you might run as far as sales. So you might, have an upsell contest or an add-on contest. You might have a retail sales contest, all of those things, but that stimulates sales, right? How do you instill the things like, are they asking for reviews? Are they doing their photos before and afters? Are they doing them the right way? Are they really bringing up a retail product at the end of each checkout so that you can have at least 10% of your sales coming from retail? Are they, on each call or appointment being made, are they making an attempt to add on, upsell, during that phone call? Are there any add-ons or upsells during the confirmation, during the booking, during the appointment itself? These are the things that you really need to track. But typically when I get started with a new client, and I was just talking about this with one of my longtime clients that I love working with yesterday, and she was, I said, I think what we really need to do is set the next piece of accountability tracking in a systemized way so that you can get the results through the team. Because that's where the challenge is. You can decide what needs to be done, you can look at your numbers, you can track your numbers, but if nothing's changing or improving, you get very frustrated. Well, it's kind of like parenting. Do as I say, not as I do. That doesn't work very well if you have kids. So what you have to do is you have to create clarity of what are your expectations. They need to be clear, they need to be fair, they need to be agreed upon. Next, when that behavior isn't happening, are you addressing it and talking about it and asking, how can I help you achieve this goal? What do we need to change about this goal? That's how we parent our kids. Well, leadership is the same way, but the hardest and most advanced part of leadership or managing a team is to create systems of accountability so that you can grow people up or out, and you can achieve the goals that you need to achieve without it taking hours and hours and hours a week from you. So how do you set your staff and your management team up for success? Number one, very clear job descriptions and measurable goals, and that is a conversation all on its own. But on a more of a global level, the first place to start is for you to really identify what 5 things do you need to know every single week from your manager to have a great idea of the fiscal health of your company. They're very similar, for most businesses, for most of the clients I work with. Sometimes there's a few added ones though that you need to pay attention to. So what I do is I set up a meeting agenda for the week of what do you need to talk to your your manager every single week about. You need to know, how are our sales doing week to date against goal, right? How are our average ticket sales going? Are we above or below? How is our upselling or our booking going? You need to know if you're above average or below average. You need to know how your inventory count is going. I'm giving you some food for thought of what these look like so that you know. But basically, the check-in statistics are how many new clients, how many repeat clients, what is our rebooking percentage, what is our average retail to service ratio, what is our average ticket sales, because those are things that you can look at during your best year, which might have been 2019, as of, we've had different things going on. So you benchmark what is an average good month for these numbers, and what does that look like on a weekly basis. And we created just a little spreadsheet tool where the manager enters in those 5 or 6 things every week into the spreadsheet, and so that you can see how are we doing against our best year or our goals. Either one. How many new clients, how many repeat client bookings, how many consults did we do, what's our rebook percentage, what's our retail to service ratio, what is our average ticket total. Do you see how those are key predictors, KPIs? Those are key profit indicators. You decide what's important, because by looking at my rebook percentage, that's really knowing if I'm doing the checkout next appointment booking, and that's a very important one for me to look at. Average ticket is another quick way for me to tell, this week are we running over or under our average ticket, and what's our promotion. What if I have a really good month, I can look at it and say, oh gosh, we were really exceeding our upselling and exceeding our retail and sales that month. What were the promotions that I was running? What behaviors, what caused that increase? And that's the conversation where, if you have numbers that you can actually talk about in order to take action, that's what your profit and losses, when they're structured correctly, will do. That's what these tools are, just quick at a glance tools. So I have a KPI weekly template that I use with my executive coaching clients, and I want them to know what should they be looking at each week. Of course, you want to know overall sales, whether you're on track for goal, and what it looks like your month's going to turn out as. Hopefully you have a team bonus tied together so that the team knows, gosh, we're running behind. If we want to get our bonus, we're really going to have to do an outbound call campaign, or follow up with anybody who's past time booking injectables or lasers, things like that. So there's an activity to be taken from the meeting or the numbers or the report. That's the key. So my advice is meeting with your manager once a week, and having your manager meet with the team once a week, and having no more than a half hour worth of material, and having 5 key things that you discuss every single time. So for that meeting with the manager, every week we're looking at how our average sales going, how's our new client number looking, what's our rebook number looking like, how many Google reviews did we get, it might be on that list. It just depends on what your behavior changes need to be. I suggest not giving more than 5 to-dos each week, and keeping 5 standard agenda items, because tiny habits are what make the changes over time to increase your profitability and your performance markers. So what I was talking about yesterday with a client is, I know there's a lot of areas we want to fix. There was a lot of areas that she was frustrated that her team wasn't doing. I said, we have to narrow this down to the top 5 so that we can actually start making some changes, and let's focus on this for 90 days till we get it. Okay? Those changes that she wanted to make were, every time you bring a client to check out at the front desk, you set 2 retail products up there. So we have a result checklist at the front desk. They either mark yes, retail was brought up, or no, it wasn't. They just put a little hash mark in that. The next thing is, is our staff asking for Google reviews while people are there? Either yes, they did, or no, they didn't. It's not so much about did I sell a retail or not. Was the step, the behavior, the change, the tiny modification, the tiny habit I'm trying to instill, Did they bring the retail up? Yes or no? Selling it is another step, but did they take the first step and bring the retail up? Yes or no? Did they ask for a Google review? Yes or no? We can tell by how many yeses and how many nos whether we need to do more training around convincing people to take advantage of the behavior that we're offering. But the first step is actually putting it in as a standard operating procedure and a process that your staff gets, which will take about 90 days of follow-up. When they don't perform according to the goals, we'll talk about corrective actions. I recommend a 3-step process. The first time that someone's really just not participating and you have less than a 50% participation in bringing retail up or for asking for a Google review, you can give a verbal warning the first time and let them know if this number isn't coming up and improving, we'll meet and I'll have to do a written correction in your employee file. So I'd really like to see this number up to X by next week. I see that you've only asked 1 out of 40 clients. You've only bought retail up 25% of the time. By next week, 50% or better. Otherwise, we're going to be doing a meeting, and I want that moving up to 100%. And you set that next meeting up to follow back with them. Did they meet the goal? Great. What did you change? How did you do that? How are you feeling about it? Or we're still not there. How can I help you? What can I do to either... Do you need a little more time so you can walk out to the front with your client? Are you afraid to suggest retail? Do you not know what retail to suggest? Do we need more retail training? What is the training that we need to do in order to take your performance where we need it to be to the level that we are expecting of you? Now, sometimes that goes back to the conversation. Do you think it's fair for us to ask you to bring two pieces of retail up when you escort a guest out for checkout? Maybe they'll say, no, I feel like that's really too pushy, I don't feel comfortable with it. Then that's a different conversation, right? But assuming that you've got agreement and that they know that people should be taking a product home because you're trying to do the best for the client, you want them to enhance their results, maintain their results longer. You want them to, look the best they can look, because that's why people come to a medical spa or a plastic surgeon. So what my main point here is, there needs to be a set system so people know what to expect with clear expectations. So if you're going to meet with your manager once a week and you're trying to put in certain protocols so that each week you feel like that manager is coming to you with reports and with data that you can use that they pull from different sources to fill in your little quick spreadsheet, so that it's at a glance you're having a good conversation about what needs to be done differently at the location. That's the key here. So if every week you're going to review inventory, what your sales to date are, your KPI report like I just mentioned, and the front desk tracker, as well as what went on at the staff meeting and whether the staff is performing well. Maybe those are your 5 weekly agenda items. Maybe you know that every Monday at noon is that virtual or in-person meeting. So then the reports needed, the KPI, the front desk tracker, the inventory report, and the revenue sales report needs to be submitted to you at the end of the night Friday when they close out for the day. They fill out your KPI tracker. They just total everything up because people have done it during the week. They fill in their weekly sales totals numbers. That is sent to you on Friday so that you have time to review it before your meeting on Monday. Then every Monday you go through it in the same order. First we look at sales to date. We look at, our KPI report. Are we ahead or behind on new clients? Are we ahead or behind on rebooking? Are we ahead or behind on asking for Google reviews? Are we ahead or behind? How are we doing on the 2 pieces of retail up? Who's participating, who's not? Do we have a challenge? Do we need to be coaching anybody? But it's a set, clear expectation. These are the 5 reports that I get. We meet every week at this time on this day. Those reports are to me by this time on this day, and that's directly created to that weekly meeting they do with their staff, where they train them to fill in the different necessary quick charts that you might need. And when they go over what are our key objectives for this quarter, for the next 90 days, here are the 3 things we are implementing. 1, when every client comes out, you bring 2 products with them, and hopefully you've discussed them in the room. We finish the sale at the front desk. 2, every single person that checks out, the front desk makes every effort possible to rebook them for their next appointment. And we talk about the training, the language, how to do that, how to explain, gosh, we're getting booked out 3 or 4 months now, so if you'd like to do your toxin appointment when you need it, we should book it right now. Now, there's a way to say that, whether it's true or not, whether you have space or not is not really my point here. Women know when they have a hairdresser that's good, that you need to book your next appointment at 6 weeks and probably your following one. Every time that I go in and get my hair done, I have to book my next one and my next one. Otherwise, I know I'm not going to get in for another 6 weeks. Injectors are similar to that. It's every 90 days. And, if I don't book you today, it's no problem. But gosh, Suzanne has really been booking up and she's already booked 2.5 months out now. So could I help you and book that for you today? Oh, I see you're in here on a Tuesday. Are Tuesdays generally good for you at this time? Fabulous. Would you like me to book you at that 90-day mark there on Tuesday, the 17th of June? Excellent. Perfect. You're booked. That's the approach. And so it's maybe that other thing that we talked about was, are you upselling, cross-selling, and adding on either during the scheduling of appointment, whether it's in person or online or by phone? Then once they check in, are we giving them an option, an upgrade of some sort? Are we texting out last minute openings, as an example? Is in the room, are they adding on neck or chest for laser treatments? Are they adding on a quick, peel or microblading or microderm? What add-ons could they add on? This is all time sensitive as far as what they've got in their room, but if there's a cancellation right after an appointment, you need to be prepared going in there that, okay, I'm going to do this laser treatment or this treatment for face, but my next appointment just canceled, which cancellations are a real issue right now with COVID. And I know I have time to do neck and chest, so I'm going to suggest that, we always would prefer to do face, neck, and chest. Would they like to add that on today? I actually do have time if you'd like to do it. So again, when you're tracking these things, it's not the first step is changing the behavior, and that starts with expectations. So if you've got a manager, they're not delivering the results that you want, number one, you set up that weekly meeting. Number two, you decide what the key pieces of information you need to know in order to create the behavior changes that you want, and I'm happy to help you with that. And then clearly, when are the reports due and what reports are due, and then you showing up on time weekly, discussing, prepared, and creating solutions and next steps. No more than 5 to-dos each weekly meeting. Typically the mistake is we don't follow up, we don't set a process, and we want everything fixed all at once. We're not patient, we're not clear, and we're not accountable. So if your staff isn't clear, they're not accountable, they don't seem to be creating the results, again, leadership, it's not fun. You look in the mirror. What could I do differently to get the behavior I'd like to get from my team? It's usually 80% of the time, it's going to come back to clarity of expectations, a clear system, how to support that change or the information that you need, and then follow through and follow up. And that is the key. But there's no follow through and follow up without clarity and a process. So clarity, what are my 3 major goals for Q1? Okay, I want them to book the next appointment every single time before they leave. Well, that's not possible, but what is possible is to attempt to do that. I want retail sales to go up, so I want my staff to bring up 2 products every single time people check out. People may not buy every single time, but it's a numbers game. We know that 30 to 40% of them will buy, so if I can get my staff to bring 2 products up every time, there might be 7 no's, but there's going to be 3 yeses that day. It's the behavior. So you're tracking, did they do it or did they not do it? Not so much did they sell it. Yes, we'll move on to that after we get the behavior in place where they're actually bringing 2 products every time. Then it's, are they asking every single client with their iPad, to do a Google review while they're here? We know this helps sell our next client. We know this is a critical piece of our marketing, but we're just not getting them. Well, if they're asking every time, again, it's a numbers game. Maybe it's only 4 out of 10 that will fill out your Google review, but that's 4 that you didn't have before. The behavior was making the ask. Just like upselling and cross-selling, was there an attempt to upsell or cross-sell? We're just marking that it's been attempted, and then we're tracking if it's happening. So that's where the key is. Then that takes us to, okay, well, if we're performing above break even or above the goal we've set, everybody gets some sort of a small bonus so that they all get moving the same direction, and there's some accountability coaching going on between the team when that happens. When they're close to a bonus or a bigger bonus, you'll find that the team will pull together and they will help each other make their calls and come up with ideas of how to get over the line to get a bigger bonus. They will do that. So it takes some of that onus off of the manager and off of the owner. So that trickles down to meeting with the staff weekly at a set time with a set agenda with expectations. Perhaps one of the items on there is we're trying to get some video testimonials and talking about, can everybody try to get one video testimonial this week? Maybe that's the only ask. We want you to do the 2 pieces of retail, ask for a Google review. We want you to attempt to upsell in the room when it makes sense. And we'd like you to get one video testimonial a week. Maybe next week we'll talk about working on before and after photos. But we don't want to come to the staff and say, you're not doing your before and after photos, you're not selling enough retail, you're not getting any Google reviews, you're not doing all this stuff. You're wasting your breath. You're wasting your breath. You have to come with a solution, but first you have to decide what are the key, most important things that you need to be done, and start small. Tiny habits. That, we've looked at behavioral change. You guys know this. There's the book Tiny Habits. We want to start with incremental changes, and over time, those have a large impact on performance and profitability. So this is a system for clarifying when you're going to meet, what you're going to meet about, when you need the reports, what reports do you need, setting up an agenda system that clarifies when you need everything, setting up easy tracking systems that don't take much time to fill out so that you get what you need as the owner or the manager or the director to know the fiscal health and the overall cultural health of the business, and looking at participation and what's not working. And of course, then we get to that corrective. That's when, if someone's not participating, not coming close to meeting the goals, I usually do a 3-step system. The first is a verbal discussion, getting buy-in, making sure that they're clear on what I'm expecting, and talking to them about the fact that I am going to need to do a formal correction meeting with them if things don't improve to this number by next week. And I set up the next week coaching session to check in with them about how things are going. Let's use the retail example as a simple one. I noticed that, we're asking you to bring 2 products up with every time you bring a client out, and you're only doing that about 1/3 of the time. I need that up to 50% next week. Otherwise, we're going to have to start some corrective coaching. That corrective coaching is sitting down, giving a clear goal. I want you to get to 60%, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. There's no reason not to be at 10 out of 10. It should be 10 out of 10, but every once in a while, you forgot to bring a product out, or you were running late and you needed to use the restroom, or you stepped out for lunch without realizing that you hadn't done it. That's a normal excuse. Missing 1 or 2 attempts a day, a shift, that's still good performance. Less than 50%, obviously they're not committed, they're not buying in. There's a reason that they're not changing that behavior. That takes you to your written warning and letting them know in writing, okay, this is your written warning. I'm serious. This is a standard operating procedure that the company has adopted, and I need to see these changes by next week. You set up the meeting again. If they haven't started doing whatever said behavior and you're still sure that that's what you want people to do, the next thing I do is I have them have a few days to a week of unpaid time off. That's their final warning. If they still want to try to be coached up or out, because that's really what needs to happen, they may come back again. And again, I'm going to meet weekly. I'm going to be clear. Okay, you had your unpaid time off. That was your last warning. If you're not meeting goal A, B, and C, which we're going to meet about weekly until you are meeting those, then I'm going to have to let you go. Is there any ambiguity? Do you not understand what I'm looking for? Is there a reason you're not doing it? Is there something I need to change? Is there something we can do to support you to meet this goal? Maybe it's asking for a Google review and someone's just too shy or uncomfortable to do that. Well, then we need to do some training to explain, what does the Google review do for the company? Why are we asking you to do this? If maybe it's some role playing. If you own the company, or what do you like to do reviews for? And how would you like to be asked? Maybe it's a scripting thing, but basically this all boils down to is clarify the things that are really important and don't try to set too many change goals too soon, but create a supportive system, supporting systems like the tracking logs, the agendas for the meetings, and the regular meetings going through what you're having them produce so that they can get some success and some accountability going. And if you need help with any of these, we have a great course. Our teachable course that we have for conversion, consultation, and closing has a lot of staff agendas in there. It has different job descriptions, compensation plans, checklists, processes, tracking logs, things like that. It's only $3.97. You get immediate access, and your whole team can use it. You have access for as long as you want. There's all these training videos in there and the forms. Because what I really keep seeing that's missing are not the expectations and the desire for the staff to do better, but we think somehow they're going to do it on their own without much coaching and follow-up, and that's what's always frustrating. Now that I've owned businesses for over 20 years, I know that there isn't any other magic other than a clear, written down. And when I say clear, I get a lot of pushback with clients. They're like, they know what I expect, they have their job description, they know all these things, and then I can talk to the staff and they do not know it. And you know what? I know you don't know it because you can't tell me what it is, and you can't show me the agenda, and you can't show me the tracking sheets. So we do have to look back at ourselves. If we're being lazy, if we're not following through, if we're not creating a system and tracking and coaching and working with our key players and the whole staff, it isn't their fault. It's our fault. But the good news is these things are easily corrected, and with just an hour with me, I customize and create these all the time. All of our systems are that way. I did not want to be a business consultant without being able to show results. So everything we do, we track. And yes, that is numbers, but I mean, it's what is our cost per lead? How many leads do we get on our social media, on our YouTube channel? How many consultations do we do? What's the closing ratio? What's the process? What's the system? What should you expect to convert? All of these things are ratios, and we know we're either performing above or below those ratios for our weekly and our monthly meetings. So that is the step. If you're frustrated a bit with your team, if you'd like to do the executive coaching or join our Inner Circle VIP group, which meets on Tuesdays after this at noon Pacific, we have an inner group, an inner VIP circle, that you have time with me to answer any questions that you have in your practice. So if you don't want to do the one-on-one executive coaching, look at joining our VIP Inner Circle group, because then you get access every single week for open Q&A. It's a virtual Zoom meeting. You also get access to our courses, and you get recordings of those meetings. So typically I will answer all the questions and share something interesting that I learned from one of my one-on-one executive coaching sessions from the previous week. So if you want to gain insights of what we learned by being in 300 to 400 practices every single year, 50 practices I think last month, it got real busy real fast, then we are here to let you be the fly on the wall and to learn best practices so you don't have to learn from your own mistakes. You can learn from other people's mistakes, or we can set you up with systems to make you avoid them altogether by starting things right and getting things on the right foot. ProjectedGrowthConsulting.com is the website. Check it out. We have lots of free offers there, free assets and downloadable tools that can help you, as well as low-cost options for courses and training. And of course our programs where we can do it for you. So we are here to do it with you, for you, or teach you how to do it on your own. And if you don't have my Profit Killers book yet, go to the website, fill out the form, and we will send you one for free. Everything you need to know is in that book. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe and click the notification icon to be notified every time we post a new video. And don't forget to grab your free copy of our book and all the resources we've provided. You can find the links in the description below.